It's a classic Star Wars Versus episode as the Pellaeon class Star Destroyer goes head to head with the Resurgent class. Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to today's video. You guys have been asking for a classic Starship Versus episode, so that's what we're doing today. If you want to see more of this, make sure to like the video and comment. To be honest, I haven't been doing many Versus episodes because they haven't performed well on my channel as of late. But if there's really the viewer desire for it, I can definitely do Versus videos more often. So I'm going to give a brief description about both of these ships, ask you guys to vote on who you think will win, and then give my opinion. Let's start with the Pellaeon. And the Pellaeon was one of the most powerful warships of the Star Wars Legacy era, an era I don't really cover too often on this channel. It was named after the incredibly important and famous Grand Admiral Galad Pellaeon. The Pellaeon Star Destroyer was a warship which, much like the classic Imperial II post-Endor, was in the service of several factions during the Sith-Imperial War. Almost everything we know of the ship's technical details comes from the Saga edition of the Starships of the Galaxy Guide, so if you want to follow along, please open up your textbooks to page 99. The size of the Pellaeon Star Destroyer is unclear, but ships of the Legacy era generally favored flexibility, and despite being exceptionally powerful, the Pellaeon was said to be slightly shorter than an Imperial Star Destroyer. However, it operated more as a command ship than a standard capital ship. The Pellaeon, and I quote, combines the best aspects of the Imperial II class Star Destroyer and the Executor class Star Destroyer to produce a ship of unparalleled engineering and power. I'll add on to this by saying unparalleled for its size maybe. Although it may be an incredible warship, pound per pound, there's no way the Pellaeon could take on most battleships or certainly most Super Star Destroyers. As for weapons, the Pellaeon had 5 heavy turbolaser batteries, 5 ordinary turbolaser batteries, 4 ion cannon batteries, and 5 proton torpedo launchers. Most batteries in the Star Wars universe are made up of 3 to 10 individual guns, which gives us between 30 to 100 turbolasers of varying power. Notably, the ship does not have point defense cannons, which is kind of weird. The MC-140, another large capital ship of the era, also does not. This means it's possible that the weapons of the Pellaeon were effective enough to target individual starfighters, which was the case with some earlier ships, but on the other hand, some Legacy era ships do have point defense cannons. So perhaps the cruisers were meant to operate with a support fleet or rely on fighters. If you remember, the reference book said the Pellaeon is a mix between the best parts of the Executor and the Imperial II. Both of those ships had lackluster point defense systems, so maybe that's what we're seeing here. The Pellaeon has an exaggerated wedge shape. This allows it, even more effectively than the Imperial Star Destroyer, to focus all fire on a single target. So to summarize, the ship doesn't have an exorbitant amount of weapons, but is well armed for its size. And remember, the Legacy era focused on flexible fleets with small nimble ships, which is why the Pellaeon was able to dominate. The Star Destroyer had advanced shields and hull systems, and per the Galaxy Guide, the Pellaeon was about 30% more durable than an Imperial Star Destroyer with a 15% stronger shield. Looking at the ship, there's also no real weak points. We don't see an exposed bridge or shield generator, for example. It carried with it 48 Predator-class starfighters. Predators are basically hyper-advanced TIE interceptors with full deflector shields. However, they notably do not have missile launchers, somewhat limiting their effectiveness at fighting capital ships. They're definitely meant more for an anti-starfighter role. So where the Legacy era focused on hyper-efficient small ships, the First Order, much like factions 30 years into the post-Endor Legends universe, instead focused on bigger and badder. The Resurgent Star Destroyer was nearly 3 kilometers long, and I think it really lives up to its Battlecruiser designation. It was absolutely armed to the teeth, featuring over 1,500 turbolasers and ion cannons. The Resurgent also had more advanced weaponry, allowing it to put more damage into each turbolaser bolt. Additionally, as we see in The Force Awakens, the Resurgent also had an advanced point defense system, making use of both laser cannons and missile launchers. Weapon-wise, the Resurgent is really a beast, and I hope we get the chance to see one of these ships in full action. Defensively, the Resurgent does improve on the Imperial-era Star Destroyer, but not to the same degree as the Pellaeon. Its bridge is smaller, but still overexposed, and almost like the Executor, it has several trenches that fighters can fly through. The Resurgent carried 2 wings of starfighters. The term wing is sort of generic, and could mean anything from a dozen to 70 plus starfighters, depending on how many squadrons or groups were within each wing. The Resurgent would have most likely carried a combined 100 TIE FO and TIE SF fighters. In a one-on-one matchup, both of these TIE fighters would likely fall to the Predator. However, the TIE SF made use of concussion missiles, so could have more of an effect on the enemy capital ship. Alright, so let's take a look at the actual matchup. Before I do though, take a second and vote in the upper right hand corner. Let me know which ship you think would win. I'd also like to talk about the reason that I chose these two ships. So first and foremost, a variant of this matchup was suggested multiple times on the EckhartsLadder Discord. I thought I would change up the legacy ship because the Pellaeon Star Destroyer is more powerful than the MC-140, and I think it more closely fits the matchup. Second, I haven't talked much about the legacy era on this channel, but I really hope to in the future, so this is a good introduction for those who aren't really familiar with that content. Finally, it's interesting just how the two doctrines of smaller ships versus large ships play out on an individual battle. Here, I think it's fairly clear, in my opinion, that the Resurgent takes it. Not only on a ship-to-ship level, but also pound for pound. I think even if you scaled the Resurgent down, it would still have a pretty good chance against the Pellaeon. Part of this is the fact that post-Endor technology seems to have advanced quicker in Star Wars canon, but on the other hand, it also seems like in the Legacy era, Starship technology has started to stagnate. Sure, the design of the Pellaeon and the way it slopes and minimizes weak spots is great, but for a supposedly hyper-efficient ship, it really doesn't pack on that many weapons, and the differences in hull and shield strength when compared to a regular ISD are fairly minimal. This is a century and a third after the Battle of Yavin. I'm gonna guess that the focus on smaller ships is not necessarily a doctrinal change, but perhaps a change in budget or resource allocations after a period of peace. Anyway, the Resurgent has more starfighters. Its starfighters are not quite as advanced, but can also attack the Pellaeon directly. It has about 10 times as many offensive weapons, a dedicated point defense system, and there's nothing that leads me to believe that it would suffer comparatively in shield or hull strength. For that reason, I give it to the First Order 10 times out of 10. But let me know what you think, and also of course, which matchup you'd like to see next. And again, if you're a fan of these Versus episodes, make sure to give this video a like, share it with your friends if you can, and leave a comment. We're also quickly approaching 200,000 subscribers. I think the channel will hit that either today or tomorrow. I'm gonna do a Q&A to celebrate. If you'd like to enter a question, make sure to check out the EckhartsLadder Discord. I've got a full channel set aside for that purpose only. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. As always, this has been EckhartsLadder. May the Force be with you.